Amazombies, aka Amazon customers who show up each day with hundreds of packages to return, are turning store associates' jobs into a real horror story. According to Yahoo News, store employees say that the Amazombies have become a plague in their working lives, wasting staff time without increasing revenue while creating long lines, frayed tempers, and mounting piles of boxes and plastic waste. Some UPS store and Kohl's locations have had to allocate additional staff just to handle the workload. Amazon makes up about 1/10 of our profits, but it takes about 90% of the working day. That was a quote from Jeremy Walker, a store associate who worked at a UPS store near Dallas that received between 300 and 600 returns per day. Chris, how scary do you think the Amazombies are going to be to the average retailer who lets them inside their doors?
Wow, I love the emphasis you put on that. Like you made it sound like a literal horror movie. I think they're gonna be. I think they should be very scary. I think the average retailer thinking about this should be very scared of the average Amazon.
Were you surprised to hear that Kohl's was not and Staples were not getting any cut from Amazon?
No, because we've talked about it. We've talked.
I was a little
Any cut from
surprised.
Amazon? Yeah, I don't know how much. I didn't pay much attention to that. What I thought was more. I thought what you're asking me was like they're not getting any bounce from letting the
Oh,
Amazombies in their store, which doesn't surprise me at all, given like we've talked about Kohl's and the results they've seen. So
yeah.
like and we called this out a few weeks ago when Kohl's is trying to expand this strategy with their return drop concept.
Hmm.
Like UPS is one thing. Like that to me is a different ball game here.
Yeah, I
But
totally agree.
but if you're a retailer and your job is to sell stuff, you shouldn't be burdening. And why should you burden yourselves with this issue and handling other retailers' returns? That whole concept makes absolutely zero sense to me. And the only way I would ever conceive of doing something like this is if I was completely outsourcing it to somebody like a Happy Returns, for example. Like,
Yeah.
if I was going to do this, I'd actually put the Happy Returns like shop and shop visually in my store to be like, hey, you want this? You come here, you work with them, and my team
Hmm.
is not freaking touching this at all. And if
Yeah.
it's going to work, it's going to work by the dint and strength of Happy Returns business model. That's what I think. And then maybe you get some of that traffic in the store, but it turns out, it sounds like you probably don't, which is what we've already always surmised and seen from the headlines. But even then, I don't think I'd be focused on this. I wouldn't be putting this as a growth strategy because it's not going to drive. It's not $1 billion growth strategy. It's not even $100 million growth strategy probably at the end of the day. So, I the
I
Amazombies are as scary as the Walking Dead ad is what I'd say.
Yes. As a former journalist, I have a bone to pick with the journalism that's happening in
Yep.
this week's story because also like UPS, like this is your business, man. Like this is what your job is to handle these packages. You get the contract with Amazon. They're paying you $1 per item or
Yeah, I
whatever it
didn't
is.
understand the UPS side of this at all.
Like
Yeah.
UPS, that part I was just like, yeah, I get it. You have to staff more, but this is part of your business. Like this is like don't get into the business with Amazon then. I don't know what to tell you. But the Kohl's and Staples part of it, like I agree. Like I definitely can understand where, especially on Prime Day, where you have like giant pieces of furniture coming through, disrupting your stores. But that's also a big miss on the part of Kohl's and Staples for me. Like you cannot just add this into your business. It's like curbside pickup during the pandemic. Like you can't just put a doorway on and like expect that that solution's going to last for years to come. You have to change staffing models. You have to figure out and better negotiate with Amazon some kind of way to compensate you and your team for accept being this hub. And that was a part that really surprised me, and
Yeah.
because this story made it seem like there's nothing happening for Kohl's outside of impact to their staff and to their store infrastructure, with zero commitment from Amazon or zero payment from Amazon for handling all of this. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And as much as I joked about us not being real journalists, we do try really hard to be on the level journalists as best as we can. And yeah, that was a part of the story that I took issue with too, because I'm like, does the average store employee know what the contracts are with Amazon? I doubt it. I
yeah,
really doubt it. Like
yeah.
mine would not have. They would not have understood that. So I agree. There's been a lot of questionable stances and positions in some of the writing that's been taken this week without a doubt. But even in the curbside example, like you're at least selling your own stuff,
For
right?
absolutely, absolutely. Yes. I think you're selling your own stuff in that case and it makes sense. But yeah, it's just And I think that there is potential if Kohl's and if Staples like had the like it just feels like there's no strategy to support this as a traffic driver out, like they said in this article too, like just giving people a $2 discount on a product is not a strategy. Like you have to figure out, I think, how to merchandise this better. Like what are I almost think about like the TJX or Home Goods or Marshalls brands, or even now what Macy's is doing with like the line snaking. Like don't why not have product that you're like the grab and go
Right.
product that you're sitting there, so you're selling
Design your
something in
store
that.
around this too, which you
Right, like
haven't done. You're right. To your
right,
point,
I
you haven't
just
done.
feel like there's nothing there to
Yeah.
support it. Like so if you just keep putting people
Yeah.
through the store expecting a different result, like that, it's not going to happen. So how do you change that and really invest in that? Being you've driven the traffic to the store, now how do you capture some sale from them?
So let me ask you this, and we actually have Ethan on later today in our Ask an Expert series. I'm curious, this could be a story we follow up with him on to see like what's the traffic impact of this. But now, are you more or less bullish on the returns drops? You weren't super bullish on it before, but given this information, are you less bullish on it, even more so? I think I am. Like now, you're going to open up even a bigger galaxy of Shopify vendors, right? Through this
Mm-hmm.
process, if I remember correctly, right? Like
Yep.
you're letting all these vendors in, some of which are smaller, bigger, God knows what. Now you're letting them into the store too. Like, it's like, come on, like, what are you trying to do here?
Yeah, I think without any changes to the strategy, I think it's a disaster.
A disaster. Wow. Okay.